it's Jen with Housewives of Riverton, and I am jumping on here really quick today to share an answer to a question that we've been getting a lot. How small can I cut with my Cricut Joy machine? I want to show you this card that we made recently. So this was cut on the Cricut Joy, and you can see we have these teeny tiny little circles and these teeny tiny little squares. So I broke out my little measuring tape, and I want to show you, these are 1/8 of an inch. They are so small. The squares and the circles are all super tiny. So the machine itself can cut really small. The next question that we get is, how do I cut tiny fonts with my Cricut Joy machine? That gets a little bit trickier, but we're gonna start by showing you how small it can cut the words on this card here in Design Space. So we have this cute card. It says, "Congrats on your new human." You can see just by looking that the font is pretty small. We're gonna go ahead and cut this out, see how well the Joy machine cuts it, and then we can measure and talk a little bit more about fonts in just one moment. All right, we are done cutting out and drawing our image here on our card. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off of the card mat. Remember, I've told you before that when I'm taking things off the card mat, to protect these close corners here where the backing inserts into, I like to get my fingers underneath the actual side and then just peel slowly, making sure you're being nice and careful, especially with all these little teeny tiny cuts. You don't want to pull on any part of those where you might rip it. So we're just going to keep going nice and small, slow, not small. And get it pulled up all the way. So we've got it off, and we'll go ahead and pull it off the mat all the way, push out all of these. This would be a great time for one of your little weeding tools or the little piercer, the paper piercer that we have. But I forgot to grab any of those. So I'll just go ahead and push them out with my fingers. So what I wanted to tell you about fonts and about cutting small is, unfortunately for all of us, there is no automatic answer. Cricut's not going to come out and say, I'm not going to come out and say, you can cut this small by this wide for every single thing, because it is always going to depend on a few different things. It's going to depend on your material. It's going to depend on the sharpness of your blade, the cleanness of your mat, the thinness of your font, all of those things. So we got a couple little circles left, but all of those things are going to affect how big you can cut, which is when I'm going to say everybody's least favorite phrase when it comes to crafting, and that is, you are going to have to test it. You're going to have to use the material that you want to use, using the machine that you plan on using, and test the font that you want to use, because a font that can cut really nice and small, so let's just measure, I don't know. So this is from the widest to the smallest, what is that, 3/16? So 3/16 of an inch wide by, what is that, 3, so that's 1/4 of an inch, so that's 6/16. I don't even know how to do the math on that, but that's how big that is. It's very small. So it can cut very small. Your machine here, let's slide the little thing in behind to make it easier to be able to see. Your machine can cut really small, and it can cut nice and clean. Like if you look, all of these, they are very clean cuts. There's no ripping, there's no tearing, there's no little bits of a paper where it didn't cut quite all the way through. It is, I was going to measure because I felt like these little circles might be smaller. No, they're about the same size as they were on the other card. But you can cut really small, really clean with the Joy machine, but you're going to have to test the project that you're wanting to make. I can't tell you, there are too many fonts in the world, and because Design Space allows you to create your own fonts and upload them. It allows you to download fonts that you can purchase. All of those things. There would be no way to be able to test every font with every machine, with every different material that anyone might use. So I can tell you that I have now had success cutting a 3/16 by 6/16. I feel like there's a math thing in there, but letter very cleanly on cardstock. That doesn't mean that I would be able to do the exact same thing with a with vinyl or with even another font that is that same size. If it's a skinnier font, then you might run into problems cutting that. So I hope that answers your questions. And if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments. Thanks.